Okay, here we are. In case you didn't notice, we're missing our intro screen today, but welcome to Anamorphic on a Budget. We have a lot of people waiting. Well, my head is kind of low. Let me see if we can get a little higher. I can. Perfect. Did I fix my own framing?
It's perfect.
Amazing. Hello to everyone that's joining us today. We're going to be discussing if we should shoot everything in anamorphic, which hopefully is going to be an interesting conversation. We just wrapped shooting a short last weekend on the GH5 and using the Lomos. Blake was there. So before we get into that, first of all, I would like to thank Blake, who's right there in that mirror.
Thank you.
Blake and I have been working on this stuff for, I think this is the 16th I was counting. So 4 months of doing live streams almost every week. Yes, we are anamorphic streaming. We're using the Zero-E lens on the GH5 for this. And hopefully this time we also got perfect audio sync. Let me know in the comments in this live chat, because every time we get something with audio. So today we're trying something new. Anyway, we're starting, so get hitting on those like buttons, and we run this show because we like it, and there's no one helping us do this except you, so that's why you should join us. You should join the channel and become a member, or make a donation through the super chat or through PayPal. I'm posting the link in the chat now. So, oh look, audio sounds finally synced. I think we did it. We finally did it. If you want to complain about something, you can look at the top of the image, and you'll notice that there's a little glitch at the top there. It's from our capture card, just so you have something to complain about. Yeah, so we run on donations, blood, sweat, and tears. Joining the channel costs you $3 a month, and that is half a coffee for me and half a coffee for Blake, 1 month. So it doesn't cost you a lot, and it gives you a lot of value. You get early access to videos. I posted a tutorial this Monday on how to build a focuser, but members get the full review of that focuser on Friday. And that's it. Oh yeah, last week we had a giveaway, and it was like the easiest giveaway. Oi, Dan, thanks for joining us, man. Welcome to the club. We had the easiest giveaway ever because we had 10 people competing, so you had a 10% chance of winning an easy filter. And so stay tuned, there's always stuff like that. I'm still running a giveaway on that Pentacon lens that I modded. It's on Instagram. All you have to do is follow the instructions on this post. Oh wait, Adam is donating for the anti-flicker capture card fund. We're gonna be looking into that. Thank you. So this is the link for the giveaway for the Pentacon lens. If you are just, on the chance of getting something for free, it's always a good thing. It's been anamorphaked. You can see the tutorial here. It's one that went awry, but it turned out it works in the end. So we're gonna go into talking about this short that we shot, about the feature, also about a month ago. And the last pending thing is I'm expecting a package from Amazon today to help me extract stuck screws. So finally I can catch up on that Schneider mod thing that went wrong, and we can move forward. Amazing. Hello to everyone that's joining us. If you just joined, please hit the like button. If you're not, subscribe to the channel. This is Anamorphic, is everything that we talk about, and it's kind of narrow-minded, but we're committing to it. This thing of being too generalistic is not our thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the discussion here is, should I shoot everything in anamorphic? Like, I've been running this channel for a while, and everything that I talk about is anamorphic, and I've been shooting a lot of shorts for, I don't know, 6 years. No, 5 years in Canada, more than that in the long run, and since Brazil. And it's funny that I look at them, and the vast majority of them is not anamorphic. So hey Zoe, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you joined. Thank you so much. Prismism, just addressing this. Prismism is asking what camera and lens we're looking through. This is the GH5 with the Sirui 35 on it. So that's what you are. Look at this beautiful flare from the quasar right across my face. So yeah, so a bunch of the shorts that I shot are not in scope. They're sphericals. And the majority of those, when I pitch the project to the directors or to the people, producers, and the team that I'm going to be working with, I'm like, yeah, I want to shoot this in anamorphic. I think it's going to be great. It's unique. It's got lots of production value. It's very special. And then they're like, oh man, that's going to be awesome. It's a lot of value added to the project, and sure, let's do it. It's amazing. Love it. But then we get closer to production and they're like, oh yeah, we're tweaking the script and we're adding more scenes, and then we're also like losing a couple shoot days, and you can only afford one assistant and no gaffers and no grips. So it's just like you and another person for the whole camera and lighting team. And you can see where this is going, right? So we get on the day, and then the first shot is in scope because, you know, I set up the camera for the first shot in advance. But as we start to progress, things start to fall apart. And when I'm talking about fall apart, what do I mean? Let's go into examples. I shot a short about a girl that has her bike stolen and she steals the bike back from the thief. So we were shooting that on the Iskorama, and it was like my older Iskorama. So it had been modified for close focus, and we had the scene on the back of a truck, camera on Ronin, pulling back from the girl biking towards us. So we can't just pull focus from the barrel, we need to pull focus remotely. Okay, cool, add a nucleus to it, sync, calibrate, and I see the thing going, and it's intense. The motor is intense. I'm like, I wonder if this is gonna be fine. Take one, fine. Take two, fine. Take three, the Ronin craps out because it's a Ronin and it never works. So we go into fix the Ronin. Okay, power up the motor. Let's recalibrate. And the thing's spinning, and I'm seeing the front of the Iskorama spinning. And I'm like, wow, this focus is getting very close. This lens is spinning a lot. And then I realize that the front of the lens is about to pop off. And I run to the Ronin and extend my hands just in time to catch the front of the Iskorama. So after that, I'm like, well, I guess I can't recalibrate this because the nucleus M is too strong and it's going to keep taking off the front of the lens. So take it out. And then another short, we started, same thing, Iskorama, taking lens, it was the A7S, so it was kind of like a lighter setup. We were using the nucleus N, so it's smaller, it's much weaker. Oh yeah, let's do a Ronin shot. It's always the Ronin. Honestly, it's always the Ronin. Maybe the problem is just the Ronin. Let's do a Ronin shot, and then we can't balance. Actually, this happens a lot. Balancing a DIY setup is a very challenging task because everything gets so front heavy that you just can't do it. Using wireless follow focus is also a challenge. I've just recently upgraded from the Nano to the M, the tilted nucleus, N to M, and that made a whole lot of difference. But at the same time, you're screwing so many things together to make a DIY setup that the torque of the motor can easily start to pull those things apart. I'm just gonna catch up on this chat here. Order Series 35, still waiting. I shoot almost Afote Anum. I shoot almost everything in Anamorphic, partially inspired by your channel. Yay! Partially inspired by how amazing the Series 50mm is. Oh yeah, steal a bike back, yep. Just to ride to McDonald's, this is amazing. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the hate to show up, but here we go. So anyway, a lot of times the gear is not being super compatible. So the motor is too strong or the motor is too weak. Or the lens is too front heavy and you can't balance it because there's not enough room behind on the back of the Ronin for the camera to balance and not hit the motor in the back. But then I'm still like, okay, cool. If I don't use the Ronin at all, if I don't use any sort of gimbal, I can do everything handheld and just like pull focus from the barrel. And like, cool, awesome, that'll work. That's gonna work great. And I shot a few things like that, but maybe I'm just too much into the very independent scene because we're shooting, I don't know, 8 to 10 pages a day, and it's not like one location, it's like 3 locations, 8 to 10 pages. To give a reference on the feature we were shooting a while back, the one that I was testing out, the S5, we were doing 50 to 60 setups in a night. If you can do 50 to 60 setups in a night, just like swapping, taking lenses and keeping everything aligned and not die from overburdening your shoulder, just handheld, I don't know, you're my hero. And still just light everything with one person. So yeah, on the corner there's a bunch of scenes from, or shots from the feature. This is the Lomo 50mm on the GH5. And you can see that the space is, but there's a lot of white walls. And it's very hard to work with. That's my experience. It's just always something is failing. There's too many variables. It's either focusers are not performing as expected, the adapters are getting a lot of play and creating wobble in the picture. Just creating wobble, power just shutting off, the torque is too weak to spin lenses. I upgraded from the Nucleus Nano to the M because the Nano could not turn the Lomos, basically. So I had to get something that was stronger so I could use these proper lenses. And it's just a very frustrating experience. I'm talking from personal experience here. A lot of times you go and you're ready to do things, make things look good and be excited and oh my god, I'm gonna test this lens and it's gonna be awesome. But then you get to set and people are just being crazy about scheduling and there's absolutely no time and no chance to make things work, to make an anamorphic setup work. For me, the biggest issue is anamorphics require more time, either setup time or adjusting or fine-tuning. You can't, the DIY rigs are not straight out of the box, plug and play, you're good to go. You got to be careful with it, and it's not the thing that you're like give to your first AC and like you plug that into the camera and then just calibrate focus. It just doesn't go. So what happens is the show starts anamorphic when it's a longer show the first day or the first and second. On the feature we made it like to the third or fourth day with a few spec shots in the middle, but the majority of it ended up being spherical. We just frame for CinemaScope 239 and revert to spherical because it's so much faster. It doesn't have the appeal. It doesn't have the whole reason I wanted to work on the film anymore. But it's gonna get the film done. And once you're in production, that's the most important thing. You gotta get the film done. Let me catch up on the chat. If you have questions, just shoot them there. Diego's asking other recommendations for gimbals. I've used the Crane 3S and I had trouble with that as well when balancing. I think I was using the Lomos. Yeah, it was Lomos. I'm pretty sure we could have done it if we had more time, but then again, each Lomo weighs 4 pounds or so versus an equivalent spherical lens that weighs less than a pound. So just balancing it out, it's a breeze. Yeah, so Lucas is talking about the Crane 3S, that's the one. And then we start to get like way bigger gear. Like all of my gear fits on this closet here, and I already look at it, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of gear. It's a lot of stuff. But if I need to get a bigger stabilizer, a bigger gimbal, a stronger follow focus, you're just like getting more and more, and it becomes, you get bigger gear tends to be slower, so it's more time to set up, more time to fine tune. And it's an endless quest of just taking longer and taking longer and taking longer and spending more money to address something that should have been easy from the get-go. Just put the camera on the lens and go out to shoot. So easy rig could be a thing, but then, as I said, very indie scene. People are like, oh, you want to rent this? We don't have that budget. Like a lot of the films I shot is only using the gear I own. And I jump into it because I'm like, yeah, I want to make this film. And halfway through, I'm like, did I really want to make this film? If you've done enough indie work, you've probably been there. You know this thought. So, and I don't have strong arms. Is this the right arm? This is the arm. Yeah, I don't have strong arms. It's not a thing.
I'm surprised.
Why?
After last show, the Lomos were so heavy.
The Lomos were pretty intense, yeah. We'll get to that, and that's a good thing. Let me see. So how much voltage you put into the Nano? So I got the D-Tap to USB adapter, so I could give it the proper 14.8 volts, and it was still not enough to turn the Lomos. It would turn half of it, but then you would get stuck and just not go. It would turn everything spherical like a breeze. Sure, super light, super easy, but not the Lomos. Yes, Afote is like DIY rigs can be problematic. Lots of points for potential failure. Yes, that is an accurate assessment, but it's also it can be a misconception, because if you dedicate all of your time and effort to building one solid rig, you'll address all the problems as they come up, and you're like, oh, I got this covered. I have this specific adapter made for this specific lens. That's what we see in the group all the time. You're like, oh, I made this one adapter that works for my one lens that nobody else has. And that's how the problem's solved, by making a one-of-a-kind adapter. And that's not feasible. Like on a larger scale, it's just not feasible. So DIY rigs is a great alternative to native anamorphic lenses when done well. Yes. So yeah, I guess you answered your own comment and I just went for it. And it's funny because I've been shooting more with DIY rigs recently for this month's content. I'm like reviewing single focus solutions. I made the focus, so I shot with it. I shot with the FVDs 35A and 16B. Those are coming up soon. And I made this thing here, which is the focuser that have the tutorial for Monday. Did I put it on the empty side that didn't show anybody what I did?
No, you saw it.
Okay. And I'm still shooting tests with it for the Friday video. And man, DIY rigs are so time consuming. It's hard to make a general thing that works. You have to commit to one thing and go. I have 4 scopes and I'm constantly switching between them and I'm like, oh, it doesn't work perfectly with any of them, but it works okay with kind of all. Aaron is saying, I filmed dance videos with the Zcam E2F6, Galius 77M4, 50mm, Ivoscope 1.5, happy with 90% of my shots, don't have time to switch lenses. Yes, so the don't have time to switch lenses is a big thing. That's how I felt when I was testing out the Atlas 40, is that I could shoot an entire film with that one lens. And my favorite focal length is 85mm. You might have noticed from the Atlas, the Vazen 85 review. I just love 85mm. And it's troubling when framing because 85mm is pretty long. So you either have to pull back a bunch or you see like this much of the characters. And you still have to deal with more caveats. I'm falling behind. I don't think anamorphic lenses are okay for comedy, out doggy films. I'm glad you said that because the thing we were shooting last weekend is a comedy and we're going to look into clips of that in a little bit because it worked pretty well. So I'm happy with this comment. Diego Garcia Photo, my interest in Ronin S is because I'm thinking I'm also getting a SteadyMate S in the future, but I'm willing to consider other options within the same price range. If your setup is very, very, very light, you might be able to get away, like Zero-E lenses kind of thing. If you're doing DIY, you're gonna have to commit to like a small camera and a baby scope and a baby focuser and a tiny taking lens and things like that. Otherwise, the Ronin S is not gonna take it. It's not gonna be happy about it. Hey, Justin, hello. Nice to see you. I know you're working a lot. Henry Grover got a Rapido full housing with Schneider Singulex 16A FVD and Galius coming next week. Love your video on Rapido. Any further thoughts on their housings? They are very slick, but they don't help with balancing gear because it's front heavy. If you look at the Vazen 85 video, I have a photo comparison of the Vazen on one side and the DIY rig on the other side of equivalent capabilities, and you'll see that the size difference is pretty big, the weight difference is big, and the weight distribution is something that you can't account for in a photo, but everything is shifted to the front because of how the focusers work, because of variable diopters and how they work. So Justin is asking, why would you not shoot anamorphic? Just a quick recap. I struggle with budget, team, just having not enough people on the team or not enough time in the day to make the day and still get all the shots done. I worked with lots of directors who are like, we start on a close-up right here inside their eyes and then we pull out to reveal the sky. I'm like, okay, so we're going from 10 centimeters focus, like 4 inches, to infinity. I don't think any of my lenses can do that, man. And it's not just the anamorphics that are faulty, like not even sphericals. People, I'm working with a lot of people that have a hard time working with the constraints provided by the gear, and it's faster to let go of shooting scope than it is to explain the limitations on the spot during the shoot. Being like, we can't do this, we got to come up with a solution. It just doesn't work. All right. Hey Aram, thank you. For a lighter full frame setup, which would you recommend? The Ivoscope 175 or Series 50mm? Series 50mm is not gonna do well on full frame, so I would say the Ivoscope. The 1.5 version probably, although it's heavy. Who's working on the full frame DIY baby thing? I gotta think some more. All right. Magic Metaphysics, if only we could afford real anamorphic lenses, even vintage ones. Yeah, that's why I saved money for 4 years and bought these Lomos and spent another 3 years in rehousing them, and just got to use them now. Lucas Pfaff, one thing about anamorphics some people don't see is that every tiny retouch can become a big issue. Yes, very, very true. Like even I don't know if you're talking about retouch in post, because that's something you do, or retouch like adjustment on set, because you have to disassemble a bunch of parts. Oh, the lens is a little bit skewed. So you have to take everything out and just realign, reassemble everything, retighten everything, recheck if alignment is still proper. So everything is, there's a lot of points, and the issue can be in a lot of different places. And Afote is talking about gear acquisition syndrome, which is also a big problem. I've been doing pretty well on that front. I bought some gear recently, but only after selling twice the same amount of gear. I let go of the A7S II, I let go of the Nucleus Nano, I let go of a bunch of lenses, adapters, filters, lights I parted with, and I upgraded the Nano to the Nucleus M, which was amazing. Great choice. I started using wireless video, which is pretty cool, but still has some compromises in terms of lag. Here we go. Okay. Tom Jensen, do you recommend anamorphic lenses from Iron Glass? So those are not anamorphic per se, they're anamorphake. They don't squeeze the picture, but they help you create the anamorphic look. And if you're considering that, I have a guide on it. It's called Anamorfake It Until You Make It. I'm posting a link in the chat just since we're here. I gotta put the HTTP. Otherwise it doesn't go. And the Lomos, yes, the Lomos are very, very heavy, but they work. And that's what we were shooting on this last weekend. The director I was working with is a guy I know from film school. He's a teacher there, and this project was part of a class for actors in theater, and they don't get a lot of experience in their course about acting for screen, so they have this class in which they make a short film or a pilot for a web series. And all the clips that you're seeing right now, or have seen in this video, were shot in Vlog or Vlog L, and they're using the vitamin A LUT, which is Ichidomo's secret sauce. Oh no, did we hang?
Really good on my end.
Okay, so my computer is lagging. So yeah, we're making this short to help give the experience of these actors of being on screen. And I said I wanted to do things in scope, because I always want to do that. I always want to shoot things in scope. So I pitched the director and I was like, okay, cool. I need a zoom. I just need like the most important thing is that we get a zoom lens that I can do comedy with, because the reference is Parks and Rec and The Office. It's kind of like Watchmen meet Kick-Ass meet The Office. So I was looking at my lens options, and I'm choosing the Photon A, which is huge. It's so big. I'm considering picking it up just to give you a little reference. But we managed. We were like, okay, cool. We can do this. We can use the nucleus to rig one motor on the zoom and one motor on the focus. And Blake was pulling all the zoom and focus. Fun at the same time. And I was operating and framing. And as backup for other moments, we had the Lomos 35 and 50, especially for when we had interior shots that had lower light, like we needed to get more light. And the GH5 is not the best in low light. Afote, I'm glad I'm saying your name right. It's a thing that terrifies me. Nobody gets my name right, so I make an effort. Alright. Ichidomo's here saying depends. Okay, so talking to Aram about the focal length for different sensors and squeeze. Yeah, I love 1.33 because let's rephrase that. I love what Siri is doing with 1.33 because it's making this game affordable. Anyone can buy this stuff and get started, even if it's not like the perfect setup or the most anamorphic looking thing. It is anamorphic still, so you don't empty that thing. But if you're looking for the Hollywood look, it's I've seen 2 delivery guys come by, and I think I have 2 boxes outside. But it's not the most anamorphic thing. It's just, if you want the most character, the most Hollywood stuff, you're going for 2 times or 1.8. And that's what the Lomos are doing. That's what most DIY setups do. So something that can give you 65 or 60 mil with 2 times on full frame is gotta be mind-blowing. Another thing that happens a lot is people want to get wide shots, like anamorphic is for wide shots. But the wider you go, the less bokeh you're seeing. So what are you trying to get? Is it the look? Is it the bokeh? Is it just shooting anamorphic using all of the sensor area? Anyway, Diego Garcia, thanks for the tip. By the way, talking about Siri, just talked with a guy that works at them, and a 24 mil anamorphic's already in demo stage, and 85 will be the last one to be released. Wow, this is amazing. I'm very excited to hear that they have 2 more lenses coming on this lineup, and then I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing. Christian is asking if Siri does full frame. It does not. It does Super 35. Afote, okay, so everybody's celebrating in 24 mil, and okay, cool. Henry Grover, sorry, I just got to your question, man. Thank you for the super chat. Nucleus Nano strong enough for FVD 16A? Yes, I would say, oh yes, for sure. I have a friend here, Matt Leaf, who shoots a lot with the FVD 16A, and he's using a Nano. He's using a Crane 3S too. So he cracked the code on balancing things. But yes, the Nano can take care of that. Christian talking to Aaron. The IVA 1.75 would work. The Bolex is a really good choice. Lucas is talking about retouching in post. That's a topic I want to cover further or more extensively, is how post-production is affected by shooting scope and how to properly prepare for acquiring footage and acquiring all the extra information besides the shots that you're going to need in post-production for a proper workflow like lens distortion charts and breathing samples, all sorts of metadata and information that is useful in post-production that most people don't know or don't care about. So screen replacements, yeah. Henry Grover. Okay, just catching up, everybody. Lots of questions. Oh my god. Okay, Magic Metaphysics. I bought Lomo square fronts. So they're NAS lenses. They're two-part lenses, but they've been rehoused by Van Diemen into monoblock lenses. And I'm still missing the 75. So I have a 35, 50, and 75. But I've only received the 35 and 50 for now. It's been 2.5 years, 3 years, something like that. It's been very long. Miguel Villa is asking, how about the Bolex 8-1915 on a full frame camera? Your coverage is going to be pretty limited. Very, very limited. Maybe I'm wrong. Christian's talking about the IVA 2, Henry Grover. Touching the lens to focus mid shot. Yeah. No, I don't like doing that either. Okay, a lot of people are debating. There is an Ivoscope 1.75, the Mark 1, I think, the baby version, on eBay right now. And it was going for fairly cheap, but it's there. Wow, this is a lot of Rack Productions, how things are going in Van. I hope you're doing well. Been watching for a while and love the info. Vancouver's being weird, I guess. Productions were non-existent because of COVID, and then things just went back up full force, and it's still going. It's still just back up full force. I'm just not going to set as much because I want to avoid the risk of getting infected. And fortunately enough, I can afford not having to work. I just want to make these videos, guys. I'm going to make these videos until they pay off. And we're closer than you think. I wish. So stay tuned. Rack Productions. Lucas, no, you don't make the ring less tight. Okay, so you're talking about relubing the FVD. You know what? I should just reposition this so now I'm less profiley. I talk to actors all the time to be less profiley, and I'm doing it myself. Haha. Okay, Joe Motion. Would you recommend hunting down Lomos since they're getting insanely expensive when you own already a couple of beautiful scopes like Bolex 1632, ISCO Cinegun, etc.? Wow. If the ISCO and the Bolex are not giving you what you want, sure. I'm putting a lot of faith in Exo Optics or Max Swan's rehousing of the ISCOs. My ISCO is currently there with him. I got a pre-36, and it's gonna be it's the only adapter that survived my adapter purge through the years. It's the only one that it's still easy enough and gives results straight out of the box when compared to everything else. It's not front heavy, too front heavy, and everything else. But the Lomos, if you find cheap Lomos, where? Get them. Honestly, yes. Ichidomo, what about having 3 full DIY sets all locked in place beforehand? Sure. I mean, yes, you could. I just see that as being like such a massive time drain. I'm tired just thinking of it. And then it's not that cheap anymore because like it's cheaper than a cine lens, sure, but it's not that much cheaper. Like if I had to pick between a DIY setup or a Vazen 40 or a Vazen 28, I would probably go for the Vazen, just because I plug it in and I'm done. I'm rolling. I've gotten to a point where I'm favoring usability over this is the proper way of doing it, or this will give you the absolute best result. The weekly online. Siri Anamorphic is really a cost-effective route. Next step would be Vase and Anamorphic. DIY can create time-consuming delays on set, and I'd be worried to risk. Move camera to get a dolly zoom. Yep. Magic metaphysics. Which Lomo should be hunted down exactly? Well, there's lots of options. Definitely not the cheap ones you're finding everywhere on eBay. Christian sounds lovely post-production. Yes, that's something. Like, my girlfriend is in post-production, so it would make sense for me to talk about it. Magic metaphysics. Siri not having full frame lens is a real bummer because I want a A7S III. You can still shoot full frame and crop later. If you're looking historically, Super 35 has always been the way to go, because that's how most of Hollywood still shoots. So if you have anamorphics that cover Super 35, they're covering the industry standard. M Private, do you know if an R5 plus Ninja 5 is compatible with Atlas Orion? What happened with image stabilization? It would be, it should be compatible if you get the Atlas extender to cover full frame. Image stabilization, the only company that offers proper anamorphic image stabilization is Panasonic, because you have 5 axes of adjustment by default, but when you're using an anamorphic lens, you don't want the roll axis. You don't want this axis to move. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your skew and everything's going to look weird. And Panasonic is the only company that does offer anamorphic dedicated stabilization. All right. Can we shoot anamorphic lens and normal lens in different scenes? So Ali Hader is talking about what happens to me a lot. If you shoot a lot in scope and another part in spherical, what's going to happen is most people are not going to notice. Honestly, we shoot scope because we like it. And we pitch it that is expensive looking, and it is. It's very expensive looking. But most of the audience is not going to notice. Most of the audience is going to notice the aspect ratio. But if you have spherical shots interspersed with anamorphic shots, you're going to be okay. I've done it a bunch. Right, Leonid saying have a bunch of cameras for each scope. Okay, right. Super 35 is just 15 millimeters height. Each of them was correcting me on 3 millimeters. Are you gonna pick this fight? Imhotep is saying transoside APS-C Super 35 makes the most sense. Yes, I agree with that. And Steve Holt's talking about multiple rigs. Okay, so I'm gonna get the photon here, it's just behind me, and I'm gonna give you an idea of the size of it and how we were using it on a handheld rig. The good thing is that now I can move, and I'm still not gonna go out of, the sound's still gonna be great because the mic is attached to me. Am I still in the shot? Wrong case. Okay. All right. Oh, Blake was very fast in cutting out of me struggling to get a case out. All right. So this is the photon. I'm gonna pull it up because it's a very small lens. It's a tiny lens, as you can see. And so this front is our focus ring. This is our zoom, and it's a very slow zoom. Like the fastest it goes is f4, T4.5, f3.3, I believe. And I don't even know how much this weighs. I don't know by heart. I know it weighs a lot. My shoulder can certainly tell that it weighs a lot. And this was our main lens for this show because we needed the ability to zoom. And we also wanted to keep focus on the zooms, so we stopped the aperture a bunch. And it's interesting to see how the image looks. Like the last time I shot something properly with the Photon A was in 2013 when I started this whole idea of anamorphic on a budget. I can do it. It was back then, and I noticed then that this lens does something very strange to like the greens. It's a very foliage looks very alive with this lens. I thought it was a feeling back then, but as we were shooting this weekend, I was looking at some trees again, and I'm like, wow, yes, it is this lens. It's not just any lens, it's this particular one. And there are not many anamorphic zooms. Like even DIY setups with zooms are very, very hard to come by. Like I think if you find the very last shot that we did with everybody regrouping, there's like a tree in the back of there. And in this project, the project that we shot this weekend was the first time that I managed to, on the first day I took my sphericals, I took the contacts and I brought them to set, and I'm like, cool, if everything goes wrong, I'm just gonna revert to spherical and we're gonna be fine. We got it covered. But we managed to survive the entire first day just shooting scope. And it was amazing. The feeling was amazing. Like none of the gear failed. Everything worked properly. I don't think I've ever been in a shoot, and I've been in many, where the gear worked. It just worked throughout. We had the wireless follow focus with enough torque. We had wireless video, and I had Blake doubling as gaffer and first AC, and Juliana as second AC. And it was enough, like because of COVID restrictions, the crews are smaller and you gotta make do more with less. But on the second day, I managed to I decided not to take the sphericals to set. I'm like, I'm just gonna commit. If any issues arise, we're gonna have to figure it out using these lenses. We're gonna use these Lomos and we're gonna use this zoom. Absolute worst case, we take out the front of the Photon and just shoot with the spherical part. But it didn't come to that at any point. The director loved all the stuff that we were shooting. The look came through very clearly. Even when the lens was very stopped down, we were playing more into long lens territory. The crop sensor of the GH5 also helped in making the lens feel longer. So like we were shooting at that's a 37 to 140 mil. And we were shooting on the longer end a bunch between 100 and 140 mil, and getting excellent stuff, like lovely ovals. It's not a movie full of flares. There's barely any flares, I think. But you can definitely see the character coming through in the pictures. So it was just a very good experience. Okay, the chat has calmed down and we are getting to the end of this. Let me see what else we are looking at. Yeah, so the main setbacks that we had was everything was very heavy. All camera setups were very heavy. Everything was kind of handheld. So my shoulders got a little messed up in the process. And sometimes focus was stiff, so we had to babysit the nucleus for a bit until we got everything that we needed. And after that was dealt with, it was just smooth sailing. So yeah, this is my experience in real life of being like, I want to shoot everything scope, and then getting to set and not being able to shoot everything scope, and like dealing with this compromise. Sometimes I mix scope with anamorphic, sometimes it's everything anamorphic, and no one has ever told that is like, oh man, this is really not anamorphic because you know, there's this prejudice against anamorphaking. Anyway, I feel that to get shows done and to move forward, and like to make the shots that the directors want me to create, sometimes you have to compromise, and that is one of the most important parts of working on set, is dealing with compromises and what you can give to achieve like the greater team goal kind of thing. Yeah. So what else? I don't know. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed yet, there's a lot of anamorphic content in this channel. Please hit subscribe, hit the like button. We have more viewers than likes, so there's at least some people here that haven't liked this video yet. Please do. It helps us get more visibility and get more people and make better videos and just keep growing. It's been a while. I've been working on a different set of videos that's not as technical, but it aims to bring more newcomers into anamorphic, and I think this project is going somewhere in the very near future, so stay tuned. I don't know, I was gonna say subscribe, but I already said that. Stay tuned. I might bail on Facebook soon, so also the channel might be the best way to stay in touch. And I'm just gonna see these last few questions here. Afote, looking forward to seeing the finished film. Also, some BTS would be dope. I'm always looking forward to hearing more about shooting anamorphic on the GH5. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of BTS for this one. For the feature we did, well, it was more shooting days. But this one, the days were shorter and no one was kind of idling around to do BTS. I think.
Yeah. Okay, we hear stuff.
All right. The camera died. We were not expecting that. I guess our pre-setup drained battery a little bit more than expected. In the meantime, you can look at this 35mm shot. Aaron, I'm gonna write down all these funds. This is amazing. I love it. Thank you. So yeah, probably soon we're gonna be looking at new content that is not so gear oriented and more into the history of anamorphic, why anamorphic is such a big deal to this day, and why some companies have made history by revolutionizing how we have access to anamorphic. Filmkiss is asking if I'm vegetarian. No. Why? Yeah, so I guess that's it for today. We're getting to the last few minutes, and if you got any questions, shoot them. We're gonna be still making more stuff. There's more videos on focusers coming up. There's Rapido variable diopter reviews. There's mod stuff happening. I'm working on a Siri project for remounting it to a bunch of different mounts. So if you have any interest in that, also subscribe. And mostly thank you for joining us today. It's been a lovely chat, and I hope you got something useful out of this. Last run on this chat. Is there any solution for making work Series 35mm on a Fuji XT mount? Yeah, as I was saying, I'm hoping to make the Siri lenses compatible with more mounts, and I'll have more updates on that soon. Oh yeah, Afote, thank you. Last minute one snuck that super chat in there. Ben White is saying, Cheeto, I finally caught one live. Number markings in Soviet glass confused me. Can you explain some? That's gonna be for next time, man. I am so sorry, we're running out of time. Rick Bowers, hi Cheeto, just got into vintage anamorphic projection lenses. Which lens would you recommend for beginners? Probably the Isco Ultrastar or Schneider Cinelux. Those are very good, cheap, good results kind of lenses, and you can find them easy. The weekly online anamorphic adapter for DZO parfocal zooms possible. Good question. Don't know. I gotta play with zooms. DZO has been making some interesting stuff there, so I want to look into those, but haven't had a chance. There's the SLR Magic 65 for the Fujinon MK lenses. And there's the Laowa something with a rear anamorphic that I'm very curious to try. So maybe if anyone has a contact at Laowa, hook me up. All right, I'm gonna say this is it for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you on Friday for members and Monday for non-members. Farewell. Chita Verheddings out.
Straight as ever.
Woo!